Hey everybody, Stu Smith here. I hope you are doing well on this last day of 2020. I guess all I can say is thank goodness 2020 is over, almost. Hopefully 2021 is much better for all of you, whether it's just socially, you're back in school, you're back at work, not working from home. But if you like that, hey, you never know. You might not ever have to go back. So I've seen a lot of good that has occurred in 2020, as well as, I'm sorry for some of the painful losses that has also occurred, but um, there have been some good things that have occurred out of it. Some people are finding new ways to do business online, for instance, um, and doing well. Some people are being creative with their training, um, working out from home. Gyms are closed, figuring out new ways to get other types of workouts in with less. That's always fun. I've done a few creations myself this year that have been a lot of fun. Um, but I'm going to be taking questions here in a few minutes. But as we round down 2020 and we get into 2021, one thing I do not like the word resolution, because here's why. A resolution, no one uses the term resolution after January. You ever hear people talk about resolutions in February or March? No. Because here's the deal. It's more of a reset. What you got to do is, if you want to pick a day, you can do any day out of 365 days of the year. Pick a day to reset and start over. But seems like the new year is always a good one to do it. So let's call it a reset instead of a resolution. So what are you going to reset in your life? Is it going to be personal? Is it going to be business? Is it going to be exercising? A lot of people tend to say, "Hey, I'm going to get healthy this year," right? And let's do that. But let's take advantage of your momentum that starts in January with the resolution crowd. But take advantage of it, because here's the metamorphosis that has to occur if you're going to create goals and achieve them. Everybody's first motivated for that goal achievement or that goal start, right? Everybody loves starting a new path. Everybody joins a gym and they're fired up to go every day, or they start exercising and eating right and they're fired up for it at first. So my recommendation is, while you are motivated and fired up to do this, build good habits. Same time, same place, do it, right? And eventually, in a couple of weeks, you will find that you have created a habit, because there will be a day when you're not motivated to do this. And that is when your motivation has to evolve into these habits, has to evolve into discipline. So, to make it short, motivation evolves into discipline, and you get discipline by creating those habits while you're motivated, right? And then you move on. Discipline will start to yield results. You'll be happy with the results. You get more motivated, get more discipline, and it just builds on top of each other until eventually discipline has actually evolved into mental toughness and more resilience. And you're just, even when you don't feel like it, you go work out anyway, because that's the way you do it. I've had many days like that where I just don't feel like doing anything. But you know what? Sometimes I enjoy those days because it tests my discipline, right? And sometimes I will say, I'm working out today because I didn't want to work out today. And I'm doing it in spite of not wanting to. So it evolves into that. So that is my recommendation for your journey into this new year reset process. If you need a reset, if you're going fine, keep going. It's always good to have goals, so it's a good time to set a goal if you don't have one. Um, and if you're having problems getting motivated, I don't know. That's a tough one. Something has to click in you And the only way to get motivated is to find something that you like. And by that means you have to go test it out. You know, if you're off, can't get off your butt, go for a walk, do some jumping jacks, ride a bike, right? Do something that you already normally do. Like, let's say you go to the gas station or you go to the post office, right? If it's close, walk there or ride a bike there. See if you can run some of your errands instead of getting in a car and running your errands. See if you can run some errands by walking or biking. Just an idea, but if I see a question here is how do you get motivated? And, I also say this, because I deal with a lot of people who are trying to serve in the military, law enforcement, and firefighter professions. And also say this, it's not my job to motivate anybody to want to serve their country or community. It's because one day your life, your buddy's life, someone you're trying to save life will depend on your fitness level. So I tend to deal with the whole fitness world. So I tend to try to motivate and inspire people to get moving so they can lose weight and be healthy, right? But when you're in a tactical profession, I don't try to motivate you at all because it's not my job, right? There's a saying in the tactical profession, someone who needs motivating isn't worth motivating. So let that sink in for a little bit and use it as a little bit of a reverse psychology, so to speak, right? Because if that doesn't motivate you to want to go do something, you should consider another profession. And I'm speaking to those just considering service. As far as motivating to just get healthy, go to the doctor, let him or her tell you that, you have high triglycerides, you're overweight, you got diabetes. If you want to live a little bit longer, you need to get moving and you need to eat better. That can be a source of motivation as well. So anyway, I'm here to say bye-bye 2020. It's been real. Let's move forward, kick some butt in 2021. So let me know how you're kicking butt in 2021. Take some questions now. Start from the top. Ooh, something in my knee, and any advice in following your, you know what? If your knee hurts, here's the deal. Replace it with non-impact cardio activities instead of running. I have some rules when it comes to running with pain, right? If it hurts to run, stop running. If it hurts to walk, don't run. If it hurts doing nothing, go to a doctor. That's it. So I don't care what it is, if it's a knee, if it's an elbow, if it's, well, I guess you can run with elbow. It's an ankle, it's a shin, it's a hip. Whatever hurts, if it hurts doing that activity, stop, right? And rest and pick something else that you can do for your cardio. There's plenty of non-impact cardio activities that may not hurt your knee. Swimming, biking, elliptical, rowing, maybe. So that's what I would do. I have a feeling 2020 was a reality check many people needed. I would agree with you there. Nick, thanks. Glad you like the plans. So someone says, want to join the Army in 2021. What should I know and consider? I would go to the Army websites and first figure out what job you want to do, what you're interested in. Know that there is a fitness test to get into this training. I would focus on preparing yourself for that. At first, you may see push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. Afterwards, you're probably going to see the Army Combat Fitness Test. You'll also see the Occupational Physical Assessment Test called the OPAT in basic training. That's going to determine what job you're able to do, kind of like the ASVAB for fitness. Got to look at that because that includes deadlifting and shuttle runs and some other exercises. You got to Google that. OPAT, CFT. There's a lot to look up. If you go to my website or send me an email, I'll send you some links, but do your research. You need to. All right. Frederick says, what do you say here? Since there's a 2-week quarantine before Navy boot camp, could we use that as a deloading phase? Yes. Great question. Comment. Yeah, I always tell people no matter what, boot camp, especially if you're going into spec ops training after boot camp is a deloading phase. So go into Navy boot camp killing it, like nearly burned out, like I need a vacation type of thing. And use boot camp as your taper because it's going to be easy. You'll probably run Navy boot camp. You might actually run 10 or 15 miles total in 8 weeks. You're not going to run that much, especially if it's in the dead of winter. You're probably not going to run much at all. So you're going to get out of shape. Expect to get out of shape during boot camp. Do whatever you can during boot camp to stay in shape, whether that's extra push-ups and sit-ups and flutter kicks and pull-ups if you can find a pull-up bar. The biggest thing during boot camp is don't get sick. No, and I'm not talking about COVID. I'm just talking about, don't get that either, but just common colds and bronchitis and the flus that scroll around boot camps. Just keep your hands clean. Don't touch your face. I've been telling people that for decades, because if you get sick at boot camp, you're just going to get behind the 8 ball just a little bit more. And then you got to take that PST when you show up to prep. And if you're still hacking up a lung, that could be trouble for you if you haven't surpassed those minimum standards long before you've gotten there. So yeah, my advice is use it as a deload phase and don't get sick. So hopefully you won't have to do that quarantine for much longer, especially if everybody gets vaccines here soon. All right, let's see. Thank you for all your work, and I wish you a good year. Thank you. Find a lot of contradictory things on the internet. Yes, there's a ton of things with different opinions. So is it possible to gain muscle without too much fat? Yes, sure it is. My advice for that is, you want to, not overeat, but eat to a surplus so you can gain some muscle, but add in some cardio on the back end of those lifts, just so you're burning some calories and trying to help you lean out a little bit. There's so many ways to do it. Unfortunately, it's not just the internet. I mean, just the diet nutrition world itself. I mean, there are diets that are just the opposite of each other. And you know what? They both work to a degree. You look at the carnivore diet and you look at the vegetarian diet. Two complete opposites. What are you going to do? Find something that works for you. My advice is don't skip out on any macronutrient. You need your fat, you need your carbs, you need your proteins. You can limit one or the other depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to gain muscle, my advice is eat more. And if you see yourself putting on fat, add some cardio on the back end of those lifts. All right. Some guys talk about your programs on Reddit this year. Since then, I'm a big fan of your content. Thanks for all your tips. Hey, thank you. Yeah. I don't go over on Reddit. I get enough stupid questions, from email and Instagram DMs and stuff like that. That place is full of stupid questions. No offense if you like Reddit, but man, there's some dumb ones on there. And look, I'm not trying to beat up people for asking questions. I mean, there are just some that are just lazy questions like, how many yards are in 500 meters? You know what? Go to Google. You can type that in. Go to Google. How long is buds? How many push-ups do I need to do? What's the eye vision? Anything that's referenced material. One, I probably don't remember the exact thing, so don't ask me. I'm probably going to have to go online to the official website of whatever service that is and actually look it up. If I was going to answer you, I just send you there and say, go find it because it's over on sealswick.com or whatever. So do yourself a favor, ask questions that actually require an answer. If it's reference material, like what's the ASVAB scores for whatever, go look it up. It's out there. Sorry about that little rant. I get a few of them, but I don't mind questions. They give me great ideas for articles. In fact, many of these questions will probably be an article in the next few weeks. Some of these are really good. Yeah, some people just commenting. Cool. Thank you. What would you tell someone who wants to go Special Forces and doesn't know whether to go SEAL or Green Beret? That's a good question. I've actually written an article about it, which special ops to serve or which one's for you. I can't remember exact title of it. But if you type in that question, which special ops is for you, Stu Smith, you might be able to find an article on that. I broke it down to things that you like to do, for instance. And the big one, but difference between SEAL and Green Beret is water. If you're not a very good swimmer, don't go to Buds. That's the differentiator for many people. It's cold, dark water, scuba diving, treading water, swimming long distances, swimming short distances, but fast. Some people, it's just not for them. And go Green Beret. Green Beret is a unique mission. They will go to a country with a team of people and take it over with indigenous force. I mean, their foreign internal defense mission is legit. And they do this all over the world. They've been doing it for decades, long before there was a war on terror. They were the ones all over the world winning hearts and minds, so to speak, and beating up bad guys. That's what they did. But they tend to like a more mature person, because if you're going to go to a foreign country and teach some elder in a village, how to patrol and how to shoot, you probably want to be able to grow a beard, right? SEALs, however, will recruit right from the street, and you can be an 18-year-old SEAL. However, that is a rare occurrence. Most 18-year-olds don't make it through that process. There have been people who've done both, throughout their journey. Maybe went SEAL first and did that for 5-6 years, and then went reserves, joined National Guard, and then became a Green Beret. There have been a few guys that have done that. So it's a couple options for you. Can you talk a little bit about size? Let's see. I am 5'7", 155, currently lifting phase till March. Would it be wise to go on a cut in the spring and focus on swimming and running? Well, here's the deal. Even though you're in a lifting phase till March, don't blow off swimming and running until the spring. You should still be maintaining some running, some swimming throughout your lift cycle. That's what we do. It's more of a maintenance level. We're not trying to get faster at swimming, or if anything, we're trying to get just better technique at swimming. Not necessarily running long distances. We do ruck in the winter as more of a load-bearing activity, so that is a form of cardio. Tend to do some non-impact cardio just to keep the cardio up, but give the joints a break. But yeah, I mean, you at your height and weight, you could put on a few pounds of muscle. doing a lift cycle is smart. You need a foundation of strength, but you also need muscle stamina. You need endurance. You need to run, swim, ruck, depending on what your profession is going to be. Something we're doing this year, and this is a different topic. I just created a new kind of block periodization cycle, and you can read it on my website if you Google new block periodization 4-2 Stu Smith. It's a really good one. And we just did one cycle of it. So you do 4 weeks of strength training, followed by 2 weeks of PST training. Now, another option is 3 weeks of strength training and 1 week of calisthenics, cardio, PST training. Here's why. You can pick depending on which one you want to do. If you have a 12-week cycle and you're in strength goal, right, that would give you 4 weeks of strength followed by 2 weeks of PST. Do that twice. That's 8 weeks of strength, 4 weeks of PST training, and a 12-week block. However, if you do a 3-1 of that, you now have 9 weeks of strength training and 3 weeks of PST training. So it really kind of depends on what you need to focus on. You need to focus more on strength. I would go with the 9 weeks out of 12. So 3-1 block. Consider something like that as well. Because I have found that 12 to 18 weeks of nothing but strength training is exhausting. And you start hitting these plateaus. But usually if you go 3-4 weeks, you can hit that plateau at the beginning of it and not stay there for 4 or 5 weeks. Go back, change it up, get a little recovery, come back, and you'll see that you've actually, with that little recovery week or two, you've actually picked up some strength when you come back around, because you just bypass the whole plateau side of feeling like crap and lifting less and just not being 100% into the game by doing and focusing on your PT test during those weeks. So it just changes changes fitness elements. So instead of a strength and power, speed, agility cycle for 4 weeks, you move it over to a calisthenics, cardio, muscle stamina, cardio endurance cycle. You can still throw a lift in there or two, but not many. Just focus, get away from it for a week or two, and then come back around. See what that does. I'm actually testing it out this year. It's so new, I haven't even written about it other than an article. I will probably create a new program around it once I see some really good results out of it. So far in 6 weeks, I saw some really good results. Strength numbers went up. PST numbers stayed the same, plus got better in the strength side. So push-ups, pull-ups, some of those guys got better. Now we're trying it again. I probably will, for the next 8 weeks, I probably will do a 3-1, 3-1 just to test that out to see how it feels. But yeah, that's a great question. You definitely need to add in some lifting at some point. Okay, good morning. My fastest run is a 9:35. During the run, my heart rate was around 135, 140. That's not bad, even though I felt at max effort. That doesn't make sense. Does that mean I'm not putting out? No, you just could have a bad day. I mean, 135, 140 is not very high at all, unless maybe if you felt like you're at max effort. Max effort's going to be closer to 170, 180. But I don't know. It might be a technique issue. Maybe you just couldn't move your legs fast enough. So your heart rate was staying low, but you just couldn't go faster. I don't know. That's a tough one. My advice is make sure you're not on any type of caffeine when you go running. A lot of people do this pre-workout stuff. I don't recommend it, especially for PSTs or PT tests. Last thing you want to do is have an artificially high heart rate going into a test. Some people, I've seen guys 130, 140 before they even start the PT test. They're just caffeinated up so much that, they just can't go anaerobic, because once they start running a slow pace, they're already up 40 points and, it just screws you up. It doesn't help you very much. It might help you in long-term running where you're more aerobic, but when you're pushing anaerobic zones, it's not very helpful. In fact, there have been people who died, 20-year-old kids who have died taking a PT test and pounding monsters beforehand, thinking that they need an extra boost. And I'm not knocking Monster. I actually like Monster. Let me just say coffee. All right. Pounding coffee beforehand, and then they die. You just got to watch it in moderation. You have 200, 300 milligrams of caffeine before a PST. You're going to feel it. Where I first made this realization? One, I didn't drink a whole lot of caffeine. And I was in Italy on a deployment with our SEAL team. We were working with the Italians doing some stuff. And I was taking part of the culture. They like cappuccinos, and I was having whatever they have for breakfast with some cappuccino, had a couple of those, and then we went for this run. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was already anaerobic before I even started running. So that can happen to you. So I'm not saying that's happened to you. I kind of got off on a little tangent there, but I'm not sure. It could be a technique issue that's slowing you down like that. My 1,200 meter run is 5:07 right now. Goal of April 1 to get down 4:30 using your programs. Okay, cool. That's good. So 1,200, that's 3 laps. That's an interesting test. What's that for? Is that for something in the U.S.? Just curious. A 3-lap 4:30 is really good. That's, you're looking at a 6-minute mile pace. Easy day. 90-second quarter miles is what, or 90-second 400s is what you need to do. I would focus on that pace and master it. Any tips or tricks you can give me for being able to talk asleep and wake up quickly? I'm having trouble with that. You should Google sleep protocol. Jeff Nichols and I did a article and a podcast on sleep protocol. But yeah, tips and tricks. Don't drink caffeine before you go. There's a tip. Trick, put your head on a pillow and quit thinking of stuff. The term tips and tricks is one of those things that annoys me a little bit. And I'm not trying to get on you, Oregon guy. It's just one of those things that, like, I get people ask me all the time, hey, you got any tips or tricks to getting through buds? No, I don't. There are no tips and tricks to get through buds. You got to put out. But yeah, my suggestion is you should look up the sleep protocols. There's a whole laundry list of stuff that you need to do, from not having caffeine after 3:00 in the afternoon, not eating something that disagrees with your stomach, not drinking too much water before you go to bed, having a dark room, having a quiet room, having a cold room. There's a list of things that you should consider doing before going to sleep. All right, let's see here. Happy New Year, Stephen. Thank you from Kentucky. Used your books between deployment and police academy, right? Oh, well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Just made my own home gym. Yes, me too. 24, about to graduate college. Recommend swimming substitute workouts. Yeah, you know what? I wrote a really good article. Pool closed, gym closed. Do this. But yeah, there's a ton of cool ideas that you can do. What we did? We didn't have a pool from March until August. I found a neighborhood pool that was just a neighbor's pool that let me use it. It was only like 20 feet long. And I put a swim bungee in there and started just swimming with the swim bungee. So it's basically a rubber band ties around your waist with a belt, and you just stay in one spot and just do freestyle for 20, 30 minutes. And there's no worrying about kicking off the walls or anything like that. So that was a good one. running more, biking, elliptical. If you have some of those options, that works well. Could I build a running base through swimming only? No, I don't think so. I mean, you can get your lungs in better shape. One thing I have seen so many times is that people who are great runners come into the pool and die swimming 100 meters, right? People who are great swimmers and then go running usually fall apart, not necessarily cardiovascularly, but they fall apart because they're braking because they're so used to zero gravity, non-impact, and then running just hurts them. Shins hurt, ankles hurt, knees hurt, just a lot of tendonitis. Oregon guy asks another question here. Any body weight exercises you can recommend to be able to do at home? All of them. That's what I would recommend. Pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, squats, lunges. So many. In fact, I would get the book Calisthenics and Cardio. It's been one of my best-selling books over COVID. Everybody lost their gym. It's called Calisthenics, Cardio, and there's very few needs for equipment other than a pull-up bar. If you want to spice it up a little bit, you can add a TRX or some dumbbells, and that's really all you need. I do have some swimming workouts in there, but there's always replacements for swimming. So let's see, 24 going into the Army next year from Slovakia. Hey, welcome to the show. Is 11:30 225 meter run or 2,250 meter run okay? Trying to do the math. So a 2,400 meter run is a mile and a half. So I would say no, that's a little slow. Most of guys that are training here are doing 2,400 meters in 9 or 10 minutes. I think failing for most men is a 10:30, 2,400, at least for like service academy stuff level. 10:30 mile and a half, so a 7-minute mile. So my suggestion is this: try to get your 400 meters down to between a minute and a half and 1:45. That's going to put you at the 6-7 minute per mile pace. And that will help you over time as you practice, getting used to that 130, 90-second, 145, 400. That will get you in better shape to be able to string 6 of those together. And then you'll have you'll know the pace that you need to start at, the pace you need to finish at, and you'll be closer to, between a 10 and 10:30, maybe even closer to 9 if you push that 90-second quarter mile pace more. Also struggle with pull-ups. Are you heavy? That's because people who struggle with pull-ups are typically heavy. And they're usually not good runners too, if they're that heavy. So, if you're trying to lean out, lose some weight, that might be an issue. If you're just a skinny kid who doesn't have any muscles, you need to put on some muscle. So kind of depends on where you are right now. Hey, Stu, I'm curious about your plans regarding what to do that I can be better prepared for a shot at becoming special. Yeah, SARC corpsman. Cool. Do you have any recommendations? Yeah, well, the SARC guys are Navy corpsmen who go through recon training. So my advice would be to actually prepare for recon training, which is very similar to SEAL training. A lot of the same events that are there, though you probably will ruck more through your journey. Special ops, PFT, recon, MARSOC fitness, Marine Corps Spec Ops training program. That's a good one. A lot of guys who are Navy that are wanting to go into MARSOC or recon or just be part of the Marine Corps as a corpsman use that program, and it works really well for them. Marines use it too, so that's what I would recommend for you. All right, here's a great question. Do I think sit-ups are bad for your back? Well, there's some data out there that says sit-ups aren't good for your back. I've also seen data out there that says sit-ups, there's no particular number of sit-ups that becomes bad for your back. So it's kind of left and right on that one. So there's a debate on, are they bad for your back? Here's what I think's bad for your back. Sitting on your butt all day for all year, not doing training at all. Then you go take a sit-up test and you blame sit-ups for hurting your back, where actually you being sedentary, sitting down all the time is actually hurting your back more than those sit-ups. However, because you're doing sit-ups and you haven't practiced them, or you haven't built a strong core from lifting or doing plank poses to balance out that exercise, you're probably going to hurt your back. So that's my take on sit-ups. I don't necessarily like the sit-up test. However, I have people do sit-ups in my workouts because they're going to have to take a sit-up test. When the military gets rid of sit-ups and the police department get rid of sit-ups, I will quit writing about sit-ups. But until then, if you got to pass the sit-up test, you should practice sit-ups. Not only sit-ups, because sit-ups is only this, working the hip flexors and a little bit of your abs. You also need to practice the backside with plank poses and lifting weights and doing some hip hinges, doing some flutter kicks. Find other ways to work your hip flexors, flutter kicks, leg levers, open, close, feet 6 inches off the ground. All of those are good ways to build your hip flexors, as your hip flexors will be tested in sit-ups more than your abs. And your lower back needs to be flexible, because every time you flex your abs, you're stretching your lower back. So look, if you have to take sit-up tests, practice sit-ups. If you don't have to take sit-up tests, don't do them. There's no need to do them. There's plenty of other exercises. One thing I like hanging knee ups. Hanging knee ups are a much better exercise than sit-ups, in my opinion. I like plank poses, variety of plank poses. I like crawling. Bear crawling is a great core activity. Lifting weights, deadlifts, squats, hang cleans. All of those are great core exercises. You got to think of the core as a system of muscles, not just your abs. It starts from your shoulders all the way down to your hips. That is your core. Front, side, back, left, right, all that. So there you go. Hope that answers it. Happy holidays. Really sorry I forgot to wish you on a few calls back. Oh, no problem. When I'm treading water, I move around a lot. Any tips to stay in place? That's a good question. I find that maybe it's just an angle of your feet. Instead of pushing straight down, you might be pushing at an angle. So anytime you're treading water with your feet and you're not pushing straight down, you're probably going to be moving backwards. That's if you're only just using your legs. Most treading workouts that people are concerned about are hands out of the water. If you're using your hands, you can kind of guide yourself to stay in one spot a little bit easier, depending on how you're doing it. That's what I would do. I did write a couple articles on treading and made some videos on treading. I recommend learning multiple ways to tread, especially if you got to tread for long periods of time. So big scissor kicks, little flutter kicks, those are hard. Breaststroke kick, the alternating breaststroke kick, which is also called the egg beater. Watch some videos on that. Practice in the pool. And you may find that is, a minute worth of one, and then you switch to another minute might be a better strategy to stay in treading longer with resting a muscle group and then going back to the other muscle group. Plus, treading's pretty boring, but you got to bring your A game to treading because treading's hard. You need to think of a 10-minute tread the same way as you think of a 500-yard swim. Probably about the same amount of calories are burned in a 500-yard swim as a tread with no hands, especially if you're lean and you got to really put out to stay up above the surface. If you're a chubby guy, you don't even have to kick, you just float. So, it does depend on, your body composition as well. Let's see here. Often hear people say do the planning, but what's exactly consist of and what officer do in spec ops? Officers do a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things responsible to make a mission happen. There's equipment, there's timing, there's placement, there's people. Got to make sure they're all ready to go. The way I kind of describe what a officer is in the teams is kind of like the rookie quarterback at first, and then he becomes a more veteran. But at first, you're a rookie quarterback on a professional football team, right? And you got guys that have been there for 10, 15 years that are your veteran linemen. They're your veteran running backs. You got a couple new guys spread about in there as well. And you're really just responsible for making decisions on getting that ball down the field. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't take other people's suggestions as part of your decision-making process. Your veteran lineman may have a better answer to doing something than you, and then most likely they do. You got to rely on your chiefs. Your commanding officer who's over there on the sidelines as a coach, telling you what to do. You got to listen to him as well. So there's all this feedback that you're going to get to make things happen, and you have to make those things happen. And you're still doing it for a while. I actually did a good video with Jeff Nichols. He was an enlisted SEAL. I was an officer SEAL. And we discussed the whole journey between the two of our and similar, other people in our positions, careers. And you can be operational for quite some time. Depends on just how good you are. But I will tell you this, after 10, 15 years, you start getting a little burned out and you need a little break. You might need a shore duty, be an instructor for 2 or 3 years, might need to do a job where you come home every night, because your family needs you. So there's a journey that occurs as you get older, and you're going to have more responsibilities as you get older. That being operational, for longer sometimes isn't the best answer, whether you're an officer or a SEAL or a enlisted SEAL. So just something to consider. It's a little bit different in other spec ops programs, whether it's, Green Berets or, the Green Berets officers, they don't stay in the Green Beret program or the team as long as the enlisted guys do. The enlisted guys stay there forever, whereas the officer has other command structured jobs that he has to do in order to progress to higher ranks. And then they can come back as a higher ranking battalion officer or whatever. So, but yeah, check out that video. I wrote an article too, officer or enlisted. It's a debate that has been going on forever. What's better, pull-ups or push-ups? Wow, man, you really asked some questions. Both are good. You should do both. Pull-ups are good for pulling. Push-ups are good for pushing. So think of it that way. Got to do both. Let's see what's going on here. Lucy's in the Marines, and every year during the PFT, my hip flexors and quads die out before my abs do. Is that a technique issue? It could be a technique issue. See if whenever you do your sit-ups, all right, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, a sit-up test. I did notice that Marines can now do planks instead of sit-ups. That is a trend that is occurring. Navy got rid of their crunches and they do plank poses now. Marine Corps, it's an option. You can do either or. Some people would prefer just get 100 crunches over with versus a 4-minute plank. 4-minute plank is probably pretty challenging. They are. I think 2 minutes of 100 crunches is a lot easier than a 4-minute plank. But here's what happens. You're going to really fire up your hip flexors if, when you're in that crunch position, your heels are too close to your butt. So if you're less than a foot away, if your heels are less than a foot away from your butt, you're going to really fire those hip flexors. Take your feet out a little bit further, maybe 18 inches. So you're still, have a bent knee up in the air. You're not like this, but you're also not like this. You're still, 18 inches away. Will still build a good, 90-degree angle bend of your knees. Just don't have your heels too close to your butt. That works your hip flexors way too much. If you put them a little bit further away, you might have to come up a little higher, but you're going to work your abs a little more. So, and it's a less harsh of an angle on your hip flexors. Proper warm up for the PST. I found I perform better after the first PST. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, if you can warm up with a PST, that's great. I would say this. Your PST in the Navy starts off with a swim. I would, if you can get in the pool first, get in there, swim about 5 minutes or so before. Just mix it up. Side stroke, freestyle, breaststroke. Just loosen everything up. Different types of kicks, and just go from there and get ready to crush it. I always try to. In fact, I have an article called the PST Clinic. You should check that out. And by the way, if I referenced any articles, I will put them in the description of this YouTube video. So you guys that are on Facebook, come back to my YouTube channel and you'll see this live video up there. And I'll have links in the description. But if you ask questions and you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube and I don't get to them today, just post it in the description below or email me and I'll answer them. Let's see. But, oh yeah, check that out. As you will, you'll find there's some strategies you can kind of warm up before each exercises, just in a way to transition into the running, after doing all the PT stuff. So it's a good little way to build a strategy for your test. All right, a few more questions. Been almost an hour now. Is your 25-week running program meant to be done in conjunction with another program? Not another running program. What most people do, since the volume's pretty high in that Spec Ops running program, is there's no need to add more miles, because most of my other programs or whatever program you're doing will probably have running in it. So what most people do is they just replace all the running from one workout and use that 25-week program. They may do a few quarters, if it, have sprints in there or something like that. But I would suggest doing another program, because you don't want to spend 25 weeks just running. You should be lifting, you should be doing calisthenics, you should be swimming or rucking, those type of things too. So that's the way I would do it. I wouldn't add another, like for instance, 1 week in the 25-week running program, you may do 30 miles of running. I wouldn't go on another program that also has 20 miles of running in it. That would be, 50 miles a week of running is not really needed for what you're trying to do. All right. Any ideas on how to maintain cardio fitness during a hypertrophy strength phase? Yes. When you're done with your lifting, go for a run or a bike or a swim. That's what I would do. That's what I do. All right. Stu, how tall and how much did you weigh prior to Buds? Do you think you were underprepared for Buds? No, I was not underprepared for Buds. I think I was pretty well prepared. I think we all go into Buds with a weakness that you had to work on hard so it's not so much of a weakness. For me, it was running. I was 6 feet and 195. I am still 6 feet and I'm about 200 right now. So I'm actually trying to get back to my old Bud's weight just to do it. So I got 5 more pounds. And stay there for the rest of my life. My goal is to never be over 200 pounds again, just because it just hurts when I'm trying to run and things like that. So anyway, that's what I was. I was 6 feet, 195 going through Buds. Running was always the gut check for me. I never failed to run. I did quite well on some of them, but it was probably the one thing that caused me to bring my A game every day that we ran, whether it was a 4-mile timed run or a platoon run or whatever. That was my challenge. Everybody has one of those when they go through Bud. Some people it's swimming, some people it's being under a log and boat, some people it's being on the grinder. Everybody has one. There's something you have to focus on a little harder while you're there, just so you can maintain the standard. Okay, which is less straining on your knees, running or rucking? Ooh. If rucking is better, what weight do you start with? Well, I would think anytime you're adding weight, it is more stressful on your knees. So to answer your question, rucking puts more pressure on your knees. So consider this. If I put on a 50-pound backpack, that is like I weigh 250 pounds. That is naturally going to put impact on pretty much everything from the hips down, that not having a backpack on. So now, if rucking is better, what weight do you start with? I would start off with no greater than 25% of your body weight. Think about me as a 200-pound guy. 25% of my body weight is 50 pounds. That's still a lot. So no greater than. So I would keep it probably closer to maybe 10 to 15% when you first start out, and then build up to no greater than 25%. If you're going in the military, that's a different story. You're going to have to build up greater than 25% at some point. But start off down in the 10 to 15% range and build up to 25%. Whew. All right, let's see. A couple more questions. Can you become an officer in the U.S. with having just a bachelor's degree yes, you can do that. Yeah, you need to have a college degree to become an officer. There are some programs that allow you to become an officer without a college degree, like the LDO program. But you're somewhat limited in your career progression if you try that. Any experience with guys you train with using testosterone? No. Other than what is naturally occurring in my body, that's all I really know about using it. I'm never used any of that stuff. I've had a few guys who were on some like old man testosterone supplements for other reasons besides exercise. But it did help their exercise too. So, all right. A couple more. Let's see. I'm shipping the SWIC contract in March. A lot of my guys are leaving in March. You'll probably be with them. My goal is currently my run is currently a 10-minute mile and a half. That's good. And a 9:14 swim. Not bad. What do you think I should get my run down to before shipping? I would get closer to 9 minutes on your run. And if you can, break 9 on your swim. See if you can get it closer to 8:30-ish. That's my recommendation. And it just puts you in that above average range. It's not that much harder. I was swimming the other day. I did a 7:30, 500. So I was pretty happy with my old time My fastest is a 6:40. That was when I was 25 years old, post buds. Before buds, I never even broke 7. I was like 8:15 was the fastest I ever did. So I became a better swimmer over the years. Thanks. That is a good article. I like that one. Thank you. Pavel's a great dude. So smart. I enjoy writing articles with him. We're actually working on another article too. Something based on calisthenics mostly. All right, last one. All right. Should I still go do endurance phase after fall winter lift if my strength stats could and should be better? It depends. You know, if you're burnt out on your fall winter lift cycle, might need a time to just take a break. Because that's a long cycle to be lifting. You might just be maxed out for what for your capabilities at that time, right? I would, yeah, personally, I would go on, try something new, and then come back to it. Maybe try, during your endurance phase, mix in a few strength days, kind of like when I briefly spoke earlier about that 3-1 cycle. Maybe change it and do a 1-3 cycle. So you do 3 weeks of calisthenics cardio, maybe 1 week of strength, see how that works for you, throughout the endurance stuff. That should work. Give it a shot. All right. I see there's one more question. That's it. Then I'm shutting it down in 1 hour. So it's been 56 minutes. So I'm currently training to go to buds. Do you suggest finding a buddy to train with? Currently training by myself for the last 6 months. You know what? It's hard to find people who want to work out that hard. You know what I did? I found a buddy I like to lift with. I lifted weights and did calisthenics with him. I found a buddy that I would swim with, and I swam with him. And then I found a buddy that liked to run, so I ran with him. They were all better at the 3 than I was, but I did all 3 of them somehow throughout the day, get in on their schedule, and then we would all go out at night and hang out. So sometimes you have to get creative with who you choose as your buddy, because not everybody wants to get good at everything. They just want to get good at what they're good at doing. If you can find a buddy that's going to buds, even better. I'm a big fan of finding some like-minded people that, people that don't ask you, why do you want to go join the military? Hate that question. Why don't you go get a real job? Stupid people. So anyway, keep on training, everybody. Keep working hard. If you guys got questions, send them. This is the last day of 2020. Probably going to shut down the Save 2020 code at midnight. I may leave it up for more. I don't know. But you can save 20% at StuSmithFitness.com. Books, ebooks, programs, using that Save 2020 code. And if I missed your question, you have a couple options. You can either send them. You can send them to me, or you can by email, or you can leave them in the comment section below, and I will get to them at some point. And any references I made of articles, things to look up, I will put into the description below as well. So with that, guys, I'm glad 2020 is over. I hope it was not a horrible one for you. And let's say cheers to a better and greater 2021. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year. We'll see you later.